You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Welcome into the Toronto Sports Rush right here on the Bet Rivers Network. It is Monday, so it's Mondays with McGuire, EJ Hradek alongside Pierre McGuire. And Pierre, we are gearing up for the big week in Milano at the Olympics. It should be fascinating to watch this week. We get the knockout games on Tuesday, and then we get that quarterfinal Wednesday, semifinals on Friday. That'll be off the chart. And then gold medal game on Sunday, bronze medal game, of course, on Saturday. Pierre, let me just start here with it seems like the teams have done what they're supposed to do, right? Team Canada, Team USA. We expect them to be the best two teams. They're taking care of business.
The first three games, as you correctly said, EJ, are dress rehearsals to get everybody ready for the knockout phase, which begins obviously tomorrow. You couldn't be more right. I think the Americans have handled themselves well. This is a tournament, and I've been around. This is my 8th Olympics.
Yeah.
You got to get better every day. And if you don't get better every day, you're probably not going to win the gold medal. It's just like that because it goes so fast and it's so frenetic. The Canadians have gotten better every day. The Americans have gotten better every day. Both teams are relatively healthy. Their players haven't been taxed physically. There hasn't been a lot of physical contact in this tournament so far. So I think you're spot on. The truth of the matter is these are the two best teams. Do upsets happen? Yes. If Sweden had all of their players that weren't injured going into the tournament, maybe they could be a thorn in the side of one of the teams, whether it's Canada or the U.S. The Finns still may present a problem, and who knows, somebody may throw their 1980 Jim Craig into the hat, and then everything goes off kilter. So we'll see how it plays out. But so far, USA and Canada have been the two best teams.
Let me ask you about Canada because, they come in obviously always with high expectations. It's gold or bust. I think John Cooper even embraced that going into the tournament. It's been really interesting to watch. So when you think about it, McDavid, Celebrini, Crosby, McKinnon, Makar, at the end of all time, when we write the big book of hockey, those 5 names may be very, very prominent. Have you seen a team? I mean, we've seen teams that have had great players on it. This team seems to maybe be at another level. They have to win to kind of really be there. But what do you make of this group and these, really unbelievably talented guys on the same team?
It's phenomenal. It's highlight reel stuff. You want to watch it day in and day out because of the creativity, the athleticism, the fact that Sidney Crosby played in 2010, he played in 2014. Look at the big gap. It's 14 years, excuse me. And then you start looking at everything with all these players. But I don't think, and I visited with Mario Lemieux last summer. We have homes near one another in northern Quebec, and I said, what's your take on Connor McDavid? He goes, I've never seen a player do what he does. That's coming from Mario Lemieux.
Yeah. Wow.
And I would agree with him. I've watched a lot of tape over my coaching career and broadcasting career. I've never seen a player do the stuff that he does at the tempo that he does it. And also to take it one step further, there were a lot of great players when you and I broke into the business. EJ, I've never seen a more powerful player than Nathan McKinnon. You put a line together of Macklin Celebrini, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid. Wow. You're going to places we've never been before. And I'll say the only comparable I have in my career, and I mean this sincerely, was 87, Michel Goulet, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
And I, again, coaching 2 Stanley Cup finals, had a chance to coach against Roenick, Larmer, and Goulet. Best line in the NHL in 1992. Trust me when I tell you. Mm-hmm. All these great lines of all the years I've been around, I don't think I've ever seen one like this.
Yeah, it is amazing, and John Cooper was able to kind of put it together. He's able to deploy it in different situations. I think, Pierre, it's interesting from a coaching standpoint. As you say, you're someone who's been behind an NHL bench, coached the best of the best. I thought it was interesting that he put those guys together coming out of penalty killing situations against Switzerland. So looking to take advantage maybe of another team when they've already had their best offensive players out for a power play opportunity, then looking to strike right then. And then he kind of came upon something because they just clicked.
What a great point by you, EJ. That's absolutely spot on. And here's the thing that I was getting really excited about it when I was watching this happen. I was saying, you know what? John's coached a lot of great players in Tampa. Yeah. One of them being Kucherov, another one of them being Braden Point. Steven Stamkos. They used to do such a good job after power plays for the opposition. And that's how they would take advantage of it. And not enough was ever made of it. So it's not just John, obviously, who's got the experience from Tampa. It's Rick Tocchet, who played for some really good coaches. Yeah. It's the rest of the staff. That's Pete DeBoer, who's been a great coach.
Yeah.
Bruce Cassidy, who's a Stanley Cup winning coach. All these different things. You watch and you go, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
And this, I think more than anything, EJ, it looks like, I don't want to jinx it, but it looks like we're setting up for Canada, USA long term. I hope that's the case. We're talking about the players on the ice. What a coaching matchup between both staffs. These are two highly cerebral, smart staffs. I think not enough's being made of the brain power behind both benches.
Yeah, it's funny, when you talk about these matchups, that's a trick of your old friend, Scotty Bowman, who was the best at looking for those matchups out of situations. And, it's just that kind of tradition or that kind of, people watch that over the years and these guys have followed suit.
Yeah, no, matchups matter a lot. And Scotty was a master of it, no question about it. And I think, John Cooper spends time talking to Scotty when Scotty goes to Tampa games. I know Scotty's a big fan of Pete DeBoer. Scotty coached Rick Tocchet. Scotty likes the way Bruce Cassidy handles his bench. So to your point, there is some Bowmanism into this group. There really is, which I think is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Let me ask you about Austin Matthews, because we talk about him a lot as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is the captain of Team USA. I don't know if there's anybody that's under more scrutiny than this guy, because it just seems like, we talk about him a lot, in terms of the Leaf situation, and it seems like he's like a day-to-day stock. The first game he didn't produce that much, and everybody's down on him. Then he comes back the next game, he plays well, everybody's high on him again. I mean, what's your take on Matthews so far? I mean, he is fifth in the tournament in scoring with his 3 goals and 5 points.
He's starting to percolate right now. There's getting better chemistry with he and Jake Gensel and Matt Boldy. That's the line that plays together for the Americans. He's clearly found a home on a power play that's just so star-studded. It's amazing. Think about it. Quinn Hughes, Jack Eichel, Tage Thompson, Matthew Tkachuk, and Austin Matthews. That's their first power play. Like, EJ, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of coaching some really good power plays, especially in Pittsburgh, over the course of my career. Not one of them had that kind of artillery. Like, this is crazy artillery. It starts with Quinn on the back end. He can slice and dice you. You can see the passing of Jack Eichel and the shooting ability. Tage Thompson, skillful play against the Latvians in game 1 on a power play goal. You see the blast yesterday against the Germans. Austin's really good with the puck as a passer and a shooter. But Austin's a guy that's getting a lot of flack. I think people are starting to back off on it. There's way more chemistry with Gensel and Boldy right now. Boldy had 7 shots on goal in that game against Germany yesterday, and a lot of them were set up because of Austin Matthews. I think the line's just going to keep getting better, and if they don't get better, EJ, just to what we were talking about before, I don't know if the Americans will have enough offensive depth to keep up with Canada if they ever played in a gold medal game. If that line continues to get better, then I think we're in for a game of the ages if Canada plays the U.S. in the final.
And Matthews made a heck of a pass to Werenski to set up that really important goal against Germany at the end of period number 1 that gave the Americans a 1-0 lead. I mean, that sauce through the middle of the ice over to Werenski. That was sweet.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a great pickup by you, and it's absolutely true. One of the things, I'm glad you talked about Zach Werenski. What's made the Americans so hard to play against, too, with all due respect to all the other teams, the mobility, the passing, and the puck transporting of the American defense. They don't spend any time in their own zone. It's usually one and done for the opposition. You don't see massive flurries of 35 to 40 seconds in the American zone. The defense go back, they get the puck, they move it D to D, they move it through the middle, or they utilize a stretch pass, or they transport it themselves. That's going to be, whomever plays the U.S. next, that's going to be the biggest issue they're going to have to sort out. How do you create a forecheck against the Americans?
Yeah, I completely agree. That group of defensemen is the strength of the team. They move it out quick. They attack in the neutral zone. They break up plays. They win 50-50s, and then they keep the puck alive in the offensive zone. So I agree. That's the strength of that team. Let's get to these knockout matchups that lead to the quarterfinal. And for Canada, they're sitting and probably going to face the Czechs. The Czechs play Denmark on Tuesday. What do you make of a return match between Canada and the Czechs?
I wouldn't want to be David Pasternak because they're going to put a big bullseye right on his back, and they're going to say, if he doesn't score, Czechia can't win. I also think they're going to do a real good job getting bodies to the net. The Czechs have goaltending. Dostal's really been good in this tournament, so I think that's a positive thing for them. I think the Canadians go in every game they play, they'll go in as the favorite. And a big reason why is the domination of Connor McDavid, the domination of Nathan McKinnon, the domination of Sidney Crosby. And then, look, you have a choice. You can play Bo Horvat or Sam Bennett in the 4-hole.
Yeah.
You know better than anybody else. That's not a fair fight.
Yeah.
It's not a fair fight just down the middle. So where Canada's going to have problems, I think, though, with whomever they play, is going to be consistency on the back end. We're marveling at the depth and the strength of the Americans. I'm not so sure the Canadians have that in terms of their defensive group, and that's going to be a problem if Canada doesn't dominate faceoffs and doesn't dominate puck possession.
Yeah, when Morrissey has been out of the mix for Canada, it looks like, hopefully they can get him back. I mean, the funny thing, too, is Brad Marchand hasn't played in the last 2 games, so he's rested, and I'm sure he's excited about trying to get back in and being a factor here. For Team USA, they're sitting on playing either Sweden or Latvia, and again, most likely will be Sweden. I mean, you never know how these things go. I remember in 2002, Belarus beat Sweden and kind of messed up the whole tournament in some ways. So, your thoughts on the Team USA against Sweden? Because Sweden, to me, I look at their roster, even with the injury issues, they are a dangerous group.
They really are a dangerous group. And now the coaching staff has figured out that Philip Forsberg can play. So he's not getting 2 to 3 shifts. He's actually playing more than 10 minutes a game. You'll have to explain that to me off the air, how Philip Forsberg can't be getting more than 5 to 7 minutes a game. Clearly, they understand they need to play him. The question mark, I think, is going to be for Sweden is going to be in goal.
Yeah.
And if the goaltending doesn't get straightened out, that's going to be a bit of an issue for Sweden. I didn't like Markstrom's game yesterday. I know they get the win, but that late goal really affected
really
Sweden.
hurt him. Yep.
And so I didn't like his play. I think if they had Leo Carlsson, I'd be saying this is a dangerous game.
Yeah.
They don't have Leo Carlsson. They don't have Jonas Brodin of the Minnesota Wild. So they're not, the roster's not as good. But I would say this, if Latvia plays physical without taking penalties and Latvia can get some really good goaltending and they score first, I wouldn't want to be Sweden. I think that team's a powder keg right now. It could either blow up real quick or it could get real good and do some damage. It's going to be the start to that game between Latvia and Sweden is going to be really important. Really important.
Well, the good news for both Canada and Team USA is at the start, they did what they needed to do. Team Canada was probably more impressive in doing it, but the bottom line is they solidified the 1 and the 2 seed, which is what they needed to do. Now the path for Team USA could be a little harder based on having to maybe take on Sweden in the second round or in the quarterfinal round. If they were to win and things play out as they are in terms of the seeds, maybe they're playing Slovakia is a little bit of a benefit for them in the quarterfinal, in the semifinal round. So all this is to be determined. But the bottom line is, as you said earlier, we are pointed towards that Sunday morning here in Eastern Time game between Team USA, Team Canada. I mean, that would be something for hockey fans. It's certainly for the National Hockey League that has made this investment in being there. I'm sure that's what they're hoping for.
I'm so proud of the National Hockey League for going back to the Olympics. I was really disappointed. I heard rumblings in 2014 when I was in Sochi broadcasting that tournament. And before we got on the plane to leave after the gold medal game, I remember somebody from the NHL saying, "I hope you enjoyed this tournament." I go, "Why is that?" He goes, "Because we're probably not coming back." And I was really disappointed. And then eventually it held true. And I think there have been some gaps. Obviously Pyeongchang would have been a better tournament if they would have had NHL players. I understand it's a long way to go. And Beijing, I get why they didn't go because of COVID. But I think the National Hockey League responded well. And what you just said is so spot on. The truth is that this is a major investment by the league. It's a major investment by the owners in the league. And I think they did the appropriate thing. Everybody's loving the hockey tournament right now. And if we ever got this magnificent gold medal game, whomever might be in it, it'd be so good for the National Hockey League internationally and also obviously in North America.
So we have the Olympics will all take place this week. As I mentioned, gold medal game is on Sunday morning. And then we wait a couple of days and we're back at it at the National Hockey League level on the 25th of February. And, I got to ask you about the Leafs because they've won a couple in a row before the break. They come out of it with at Tampa. Congratulations, the hottest team in the league. At Florida, then they're home for Ottawa, Philly, at Jersey, at the Rangers, then home for Tampa. I mean, we talked about it. that game against the Rangers on the 5th of March, that one is in New York. The next day is the trade deadline. I mean, I don't know what Brad Treliving is thinking here, but I would figure that there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
There better be a lot going on. This team
Yeah.
has played their way back into being talked about. So is Ottawa, by the way.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy to watch Ottawa and Toronto battle it out to see who's going to get probably that last wild card spot. I don't think Buffalo's going away. I don't think Montreal's going away. Tampa obviously is playing really well. I think Florida's kind of, because of injury and because of all the games they played, I think they're starting to fall up to the wayside, which is too bad for them. But I think this race between Ottawa and Toronto long term is going to be unbelievable to watch, a ton of fun to watch, and it's going to make this, the post-Olympic schedule of the National Hockey League so much fun to watch and follow. It's going to be great.
Hey Pierre, because again, you've seen a number of Olympics. You know the history of this game. For Austin Matthews, if Team USA were able to win the gold medal, would that be a kind of boost for him as a player in terms of his confidence and the way that he would carry himself moving forward? It seems like to me when Lemieux played with Gretzky there in the, going back, I guess it was 87
Canada Cup.
Yeah, right. And that was kind of a little bit of a coming out party for a guy whose team was never in the playoffs. Took him to another level. Would that be the case maybe for Matthews if he could have a successful tournament here and maybe win a gold medal?
The premise of your question so good. So think about '02. Jerome McGinley wasn't even invited to the camp.
Yep.
Jerome McGinley used that as a launching point to his career. I could think about Jonathan Toews and Mike Richards in 2010 playing in Vancouver. Chicago Blackhawks end up winning the Stanley Cup that year, leads to 3 straight Stanley Cups for Jonathan. He was just a kid, played on a line with Mike Richards, who ended up going to the final that year as well with Philadelphia, and Rick Nash. So all those guys used the Olympics as a launching point. Drew Doughty in 2010 was a 20-year-old kid playing on Team Canada. Used it as a launching point to 2 Stanley Cups and another Olympic gold medal in 2014. The highway is littered with guys that have utilized the Olympics since it's been best on best, with all due respect to the Russians who aren't there this year. They've used it as a launching point to their careers. And I think Austin Matthews is a guy that can do that. I do.
All right, Pierre. Last thing. Do you want to make any predictions here? Do you think that are we going to get the U.S. Canada game? I mean, I know it's crazy in these single elimination games because as good as Canada has looked, and we've talked about all their great players. I mean, we've seen this movie. It's a one game, situation. You could lose a game somewhere along the way. Any predictions from you? Any thoughts on, what we're going to see in the next week?
I think Canada will play the U.S. in the gold medal game. Here's my caveat. If Canada doesn't get to the gold medal game, it's because they don't hold up. They do not hold up in goal, and they do not hold up on the back end. It will not be because they don't score enough. That's number one. Now we'll go to the U.S. The reason why they don't get to the gold medal game, if they don't, will be because Connor Hellebuck doesn't hold up, or they lose their discipline and they take bad penalties and their penalty killing falls apart. And part of penalty killing is obviously goaltending. Those are the 2 scenarios for both teams where I say, if those couple things don't hold up, they're not getting there. But I think they will hold up, and I do think we're going to see this penultimate, phenomenal gold medal game between Canada and the United States.
How about Swayman giving up that bomb the other day, the long shot?
You know what that reminded me of? I hate to bring it up, but I'll bring it up. Dan Cloutier in Vancouver.
Oh, I remember.
Detroit, Vancouver.
Nick Lidstrom.
Yeah, it reminded me, and you correctly said it because I was there in Salt Lake City, Sweden versus, was it Belarus? I think it was Belarus, right?
Yes, it was.
And what I remember the next day from that, the Aftonbladet, which is a newspaper in Sweden, had a cover of their front page, all the players' pictures with their NHL teams and their salaries. And the headline was criminals. It's unbelievable. And then the other one I remember, and I'm dating myself now, but this is all for our veteran viewers and listeners. 1971, clear as day. I was a 10-year-old kid watching the game at my uncle's house, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And Jacques Lemaire scored up from center ice in Game 7 against Tony Esposito.
Yep.
I watched that play happen the other day, and those were the thoughts that I came up with.
Yeah, you're right. Those when you've been around long enough, you've seen those kind of things. You remember them really well. And I would just add too. Everybody's been on like the goaltending. U.S. is loaded. Canada, it's dicey. This is a one-game scenario, and in one-game scenarios, Jordan Binnington has been pretty good. The other guys on Team USA in one-game scenarios,
Nope.
no, I don't see it. So they've got to prove it to me. We will see how it plays out. But Pierre, it's going to be a fun week. I know you'll be lit up watching all these games and taking it in. Thanks so much for the time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Great teammate, EJ. Thanks a lot. Really had a ton of fun with you. Thank you.
All right. Mondays with McGuire right here on the Toronto Sports Rush, presented by the Bet Rivers Network.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.